Why do we 8 billion humans go on denying all relevant ancestral markers, which clearly point out that our origin lies in the Americas, and more specifically in the Amazon forest in South America? In general, ancestral markers are what scientists are supposed to use, this in order to point out who the ancestors are, and where the origin lies. Blood groups. Blood groups are clear ancestral markers, and we humans dispose of clear world maps based on them that point out where our origin lies. This is so because blood group A, B and AB evolved out of blood group O. Further, blood group O cannot have descended from the remaining blood group A and B, nor AB, because blood group O is what is called a recessive blood group. On the map on your screen, it becomes evident that the native people of South America are dominantly blood group O, and that there is no place outside the Americas that is dominantly blood group O. Proof in 2 steps, plus 1 confirmation. A. Step 1. The blood group O map proves that the native people of South America cannot come from any place outside of the Americas, because no other continent is dominantly blood group O, and consequently the indigenous peoples of South America are their own ancestors. B. Step 2. Since the native people of South America are the only ones that are proven to be their own ancestors, by elimination they also are the ancestors of all modern humans. C. Confirmation. The fact that blood group O is the oldest and the ancestral blood group is further confirmation that the native people of South America are the ancestors of all humans. Jumping genes. Jumping genes are further clear ancestral markers, and we humans dispose of clear world maps based on them, that point out our origin lies in South America. Jumping gene PV92. On the map on your screen, it becomes evident that the jumping gene PV92 presents a frequency gradient that starts high with the highest frequency of 96 in South America. Native people of South America present this highest frequency of 96 of the jumping gene PV92 in South America, and consequently are the ancestors of all people with lower jumping gene PV92 frequencies, which is the rest of the world. The clear gradient to the lowest frequencies is not random, but quite gradual, which also proves it is not a drift, and goes down from east to west. This also largely associated with the Austronesian Expansion, as well as the population Y expansion, but this is the subject of other videos. Resuming, the highest frequency of the jumping gene PV92 represents the origin and the ancestors, at least of these very early expansions, around 50 to 70,000 years ago, preceding or contemporary with a hypothesized out-of-Africa expansion around the same time, assuming the migration of the also hypothesized African Eve, but that we claims to be American Eve, because of its presence and spreading and descending from South America also towards Africa, where she is wrongly interpreted through the DNA of actual populations as African Eve. Unscientifically and irresponsibly, these simple to understand and clear ancestral markers, just as all other ancestral markers, are not involved in the discussions about our origin and history. While a series of ancestral markers and indices point out the Americas, there is not one ancestral marker that supports the consensus hypothesis that claims that all humans come from Africa. This looks like the absolute and systematic avoidance or negation of science, evidence, and facts. Today only one marker is claimed to support the consensus hypothesis that all humans originated in Africa. Mitochondrial or African Eve. Mitochondrial Eve or African Eve never physically existed, and not even one fossil is found of her or her group in Africa, so African Eve is not based on any physical evidence. Mitochondrial Eve goes on to be hypothetical only, being based on the DNA of mothers and daughters from all over the world today. Another spoiler for the out-of-Africa hypothesis is that ever more fossils of Neanderthals, as well as ancient Americans, are found that carried African Eve long before the supposed mitochondrial Eve or African Eve, or her group carried it. This is yet one more indication that the hypothesized African Eve is not African, but instead American. This is so since the root of Neanderthals, as well as the root of ancient Eurasians, lies in the Americas. There is no evidence that mitochondrial Eve or African Eve is indeed African. Instead, there is evidence that she is not African, but American instead. Further, Neanderthal fossils, which are found across all continents, are not found in the by consensus and by out-of-Africa claimed place of origin, which is sub-Saharan Africa. Haplogroup R is proof against out-of-Africa. Haplogroup R is a Y chromosome DNA haplogroup that is widespread and numerous. For example, it is carried by 60% of all Europeans. Its descendant subclades are found in Europe, Central Asia, South Asia, parts of West Asia, and Africa. And some authorities suggest haplogroup R has also long been present in Native Americans. Haplogroup R, just like all Indo-Europeans, descend from ancient North Eurasians living in Siberia during the Paleolithic, while these descended from Native Americans. Unique and important 3 population tests strongly signal this relation with Native Americans. There are plenty of indices, and we claim that haplogroup R is younger and/or descendant of haplogroup Q, which is generally recognized as being Native American. Haplogroup R and other ancestral markers are again picked up and presented in more detail in the follow-up video.